Hello and welcome to Fueling Around with me, Jason Plato, and the needle in my haystack. It is, of course, Dave Vitty.
Hello.
Fueling Around is powered by adrianflux. As the UK's largest specialist insurance broker, adrianflux will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help save you money on your car, your bike, or even your home insurance. Dave, how are you?
I'm
you
very
look
good.
stressed a bit, actually. You've had
I'm a little bit
days,
stressed today. I'm having one of those days where it's just all a bit non-stop. And as you can see, I'm a little bit smarter today, client-facing. I've had a few meetings. So
what was that client-facing you said?
Client-facing. Normally, because as you know, because we work from home now, so normally I'm in a hoodie and a pair of shorts and I look like I'm going to wash the cars. Today, a bit different. But listen, it's not about me today because it's all about our very special guests, and I think you should not keep them waiting in the wings too much longer.
I won't. Now, our guest today, I'm going to refer to him as a gentleman who can race a bit, he can do telly a bit, he can journal a bit, and he's fundamentally pretty rapid at the wheel of anything and everything. He is, without doubt, in my opinion, the best telly driver in the world. It is, of course, my old mucker, Mr. Tiff Needell. Hello, mate.
I'm blushing now.
Oh, it's all the truth.
I thought I was the needle in the haystack, but I'm the Needell in the haystack. Just to get that right. I thought that was a clever intro. That
had I said the Needell, everyone would have guessed it.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's a pleasure to be on your little channel here, Dave. I mean, I'm delighted to be here, Jason. I've watched many little, pieces without me on it, and thought, it must be my turn soon to come on this high-profile.
I've been singing your praises since Series 1. Dave, have I?
Absolutely,
I haven't seen you on track, though, JP. We all want you on track, back on track. Last week, we're missing you.
Yeah, well,
never retire.
Maybe soon. No,
don't ever use that word retire. I shall never retire for racing.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Our pal, Steve Soper, said to me ages ago, he said, mate, do not use that word beginning with R.
Do not use it.
Because he did, and he regrets it.
Yeah.
Dearly.
Exactly.
It doesn't suit you, Jason. I think back on track is the way forward.
Raconteur is obviously what we're talking about.
Yeah. In many, many ways. Tiff, thank you very much for joining us. I know, obviously, that you two go back many, many years, but what I don't know and what many people don't know is where did your paths first cross?
Oh, God, he was just a young whippersnapper. I don't know. He was bending the rules, getting caught cheating in Formula Renault. I thought, who was that bloke?
It wasn't. No, it was the Nissan corporate days.
Oh, you were the boss. You were one of my minions. Well, I employed you. Oh, God, I can't believe of all the troublemakers I had.
Yeah.
So, I ran Citroen days and Nissan days. I used to have up to 40 instructors in the heyday of those corporate binges. And, I used to have to keep you all in control, which was almost impossible. People like Dario Franchitti falling out of the van, picking up cones.
The van. I was in that van when he fell out on cone duty. Because let me tell Dave, if we were naughty during the day, which actually happened every day of every hour, at the end of the day, because Tiff was like the chief instructor in charge of us all, he would put the naughty boys on cone duty, right? Which was basically picking up all the cones right around the track. And because we were doing this all the time, we found a shortcut, and that was. We do it with a transit van with someone hanging out the side door. And on that day, it was who, Tiff?
Dario Franchitti. Yeah. One of the stars of the future.
And what happened down the back straight under the Dunlop Bridge?
Whose plan? It's probably your plan. Your plan probably was to have someone on the side door leaning out of the van to pick up the cones whilst the van sped through the corner. Doubtless... You were the driver. Doubtless you put young Franchitti in the door pickup position and then went through the corner too fast and deposited Mr. Franchitti. I had to phone his mum up. I had to phone Mrs. Franchitti and say his boy was slightly damaged and heading to hospital.
Yeah.
He's got the scars. He proudly shows the scars when I see him going out of the van.
He left the vehicle, Dave, at 40 mile an hour.
And what age are you two naughty boys at this point, in time?
This was early 90s, eh? 91, 92?
Yeah.
I mean, 11, 12, 13, something like that. Tiff was in his 50s then still.
They were great days. I did enjoy them. But it was fun. I love giving all the young drivers. Some of these, instructors at racetracks are usually sort of 50-year-old, retired drivers. But I want all the young lads that, are struggling in single seats to earn the 100 quid a day, 120 quid a day. Yeah. So I used to like picking all the young kids that I'd followed in Formula Ford and Formula Renault and stuff, and give them a bit of an income.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can remember so many times. Tiff was the last man standing at the nightclub. I mean, I kid you not. Yeah.
But it was a social event as well. It wasn't just picking the drivers that were good at instructing. They were picking the drivers that were good at going out and having a good time and drink. There were a few hotels that wouldn't allow us back several years later.
And Jason, you're no stranger to a late bar either.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Before that, I was a good church-going bloke. That's where it's come from.
Oh, yes, there were some good times out.
Yeah.
Can you imagine in today's day and age where you have to do health and safety forms for all sorts of stuff? Can you imagine trying to operate with the likes of him and Dario in this kind of world?
Worse, we have to tell the Anthony Reid story. We all know Anthony Reid is slightly on the edge, when it comes to determination
he's
to
a
prove...
fruitcake. He's a
prove
fruitcake.
everything wrong. We had a slalom test, which I tested at 40 miles an hour. So you had to go through the slalom test in another manufacturer's car at 40 miles an hour, and it was all a bit easy. Then you go through at 40 miles an hour in the little Nissan and prove how much better the Nissan was through, I think, at 40 miles an hour.
40 miles an hour.
Anthony, amongst others, decided at the end of the day, well, someone was picking up the cones, to go through at 50 or 60 and see how fast they could go through the slalom. And each time, young Reid lost control and rolled the Vauxhall course, or whatever it was. Came to me in the car park to explain, tried to blame me. He said, Did you check the tyre pressures? Well, they were fine. They were normal road going tyre. It's a road test, Anthony. It's not a track test. He didn't have his seatbelt on. He ended up upside in the footwell amongst the pedals, apparently. And we had to tow the car out onto the public roads and said it had an accident.
Actually, come on, let's get on to more sensible things, I think. So, Tiff, take us back to the very beginning, if you wouldn't mind. And for those that don't know, exactly what age, where, when did this motorsport career begin? I mean, I'm guessing it's pre-war, I'm going to imagine.
It was just after the Second World War. As soon as I could walk in the mid-50s, Dad took me to Goodwood to watch motor racing, and as soon as I crawled up the bank and watched these colourful, noisy, smelly machines being wrestled through the shit, that's all I wanted to be, was a racing driver. But we had no family money at all. We lived in a flat. I grew up in Weybridge, Surrey. So, another Silverstone millionaire's son, yeah. But instead, we lived in a rented flat on the wrong side of the railway line. So I went off to be a civil engineer. I left university the summer of 69, borrowed Mum's Morris 1,000 though, emptied my post office savings bank from all the money I'd done cutting lawns, went down to Brands Hatch and drove their little Formula Fords round at the initial trial. But it was just a dream, so I went off to be a civil engineer. I'm fully qualified. I worked as a civil engineer for about 7 years. But luckily I entered the magazine competition run by Autosport magazine and won a Formula Ford racing car.
Okay.
And I was 19 years old, and it was in my second year. I was working. I don't know where I was working at. I was building the M5 motorway at the time as a young civil engineer. So.
Can you imagine Tiff building a motorway?
A little road from Exeter to Birmingham. Yeah.
In fact, I set out the line of that motorway. One of my great achievements in life. So for 5 years, I was a civil engineer 5 days a week, and mechanic in my little lock-up garage 5 nights a week. And the weekend, I was the van driver, the mechanic, and the racing driver. And this was the beauty of Formula Ford, because the cars weren't scientific like they are today. So even to make your own mechanic like me, I could run my own car and set it up, and the talent would come through, and as long as you got a reasonable chassis. And I was able to get to the top of your national racing, while still being a civil engineer. And I was like 25 years old before I won the Autosport Awards, the Grover Awards.
I was going to say the Grover,
which is the Autosport of today. Yeah. And James Hunt gave me the trophy. No. I was promising young. And that caught the eye of Unipart. They were running a Formula 3 team. And that got me into professional drive. I was 25 years old. I was a fully qualified civil engineer. But you couldn't do that anymore, could you? It's ridiculous. No chance at all.
Right. Wow.
So winning the Autosport thing was actually your break, wasn't it?
Completely, yeah.
I suppose what people, a lot of people don't realise, with racing drivers all the way through, is the fact that in the early days you've got to find your own funding. And you know, a lot of people just assume, oh, you've got talent and you jump in a car and then suddenly it's all glamorous. But, you know, you've got to really work at it. And, you know, that was your break and that was what set you off, I guess.
You've got to nowadays, you just got to have huge money, you know. Yeah. It annoys me nowadays that, you know, we're accusing motorsport being sexist and, you know, anti-women and women don't get a chance. It's complete rubbish. In Formula One, with the British Formula, I had Desiree Wilson racing against me. She was brilliant, really top female driver. Neither of us were perhaps good enough to become Ferrari drivers or whatever at the time, but she was really quick. You know, racing women at the war, who was that MG woman who was in the war before the Second World War? So there's always been women in motorsport. Yeah. And in my mind, we've always encouraged them. I mean, sometimes there's a bit of wheel banging, you know, I don't know who's beaten by the girl, but, you know, the girl doesn't want to be beaten by the man. Yeah. And they're obsessed that Formula One is anti-women. The point is, all these kids and boys, they're there because their parents, at the beginning, have either got business associates or they've got their own millionaires, so they've got money. So it's not the sport that's stopping them. The boys are all there. And there's something out in the Formula 4 UAE now. There's about 60 kids out there doing Formula 4 and Formula Regional, 14 and 15-year-olds, because their dads are paying for it, or dad's associates.
Yeah. Tiff, you've raced so many different classes and very different machines over the years. Is there a favourite type of car? Is there a favourite first love, or is that a ridiculous question? Is there a type of racing that is your ultimate? I don't know.
It's always single-seaters. Okay. Because single-seaters are designed to go fast. There's no compromise. You haven't got A-pillars and roofs and they're just racing cars. And you're the only driver. You sit in the middle and they are the best to go. So, the
purity, I suppose.
I got up the top of that ladder, and then I came sideways into sports car racing, and then it's a compromise. Those big prototypes, you can't see much out. You're sharing another driver, so who's going to set the car up the way you like it. And, and then you go tin top bashing like Jason, and people knock into you all the time, and you think, well, stop hitting me, I'm doing the best I can here. And they're front wheel drive, which I don't like particularly, so I'd like a rear wheel drive car. So, it's always single-seaters. But, obviously the prototypes now, which is why I'm saying I wish half the Grand Prix drivers would quit and go and do sports cars and let some youngsters into Formula One. Because that's the other problem with getting a girl or a woman into Formula One. There's a queue of people just sitting there. Well, how about me? How about me? Ollie Behrman is fantastic, British driver that's doing stunning stuff in Formula 2. But whether he ever gets a Grand Prix drive, especially when Formula One flipping clique won't allow another team to bring two more cars in. This banning of Andretti. Formula One's some scene at the moment. I'm going so off Formula One because it's just about the money. Contract to Madrid, a circuit nobody's raced around for 10-year contract. I've seen the computer simulation. It's no overtaking, just so that more party goers can spend £7,000 in Paddock Club and Formula One can get richer, and you can have a cash app Visa racing against some Spark gamblers, sponsors. It's just... I'm really going off Formula One. The new regulations for 2026 look horrendous. It's 50% electric power, 50% car power.
Get rid of all that electric
adjustable
stuff.
Aerodynamics so they can get down the straights without running out of power. It's just the weight of the cars now, the size of the cars, size of a Rolls-Royce bloody Corniche, their footprint. And, you don't get much overtaking because they're great big barges. And so I'm going right off Formula One and stopping Andretti coming in. They're a little 10-team clique that want all the money and want all the stuff their way, and they don't want anybody else upsetting their little world.
And their reasoning, I don't know if you've read it, Dave, but their reasoning, the main one which stuck out like a sore thumb is, well, do you know what I think? And this is Formula One speaking now. I think Andretti will get more out of Formula One than we will get out of them. I mean, that just says everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, the big news. The big news.
Absolutely.
Lewis in a red suit.
That's a smokescreen. They don't want us talking. They don't want us talking about.
Do you reckon it's
Andretti and WhatsApps? They want to take all the criticism away, so they put this story out. But I think it's true. I think Lewis is going to Ferrari.
Yeah, I want to see him against Charles Leclerc.
I think it's brilliant. I love it. I love a bit of a change-up. I prefer it to be a young driver getting a chance. We have to get rid of Magnussen's and Hulkenbergs, lovely though they are. They've got Bottas, Rang Zhao. We've got to get some of that dead meat out. Even though they're lovely people, they've earned a lot of money in Formula One. You've got Bottas has earned millions of... Yeah. Go to sports cars.
You've had to go.
Yeah. So I love the change. I'd like it to be Ollie Behrman signed for Ferrari, but obviously that's probably not happening for another 3 or 4 years. But it's great. It looked good in red. It's suiting my colour. I think he liked red.
So.
He's always fashion conscious. I think he looked good in red. I think it's And I've always been a Charles Leclerc. I only think there are like, is it 5? I never count 5 brilliant drivers. So Lewis is a brilliant driver. And that Max someone, he's a brilliant driver. And I think Leclerc is brilliant, whereas I think Sainz is very, very good. So he doesn't make it.
I would agree.
Alonso, and Lando comes in. Brilliant. Alonso.
Yeah.
And I'd probably add Piastri. Up to 6 brilliant drivers. Whereas the rest are just very, very good. But they need to be very, very good for 5 or 6 or 7 seasons, then go away.
Yeah, exactly.
From a layman's point of view, and this sort of intrigues me, so for people listening, can you briefly explain why you would label somebody a brilliant driver and somebody a very good driver? Is there one thing that sort of springs to mind which differentiates somebody from being a 9 or a 10 out of 10 from being a 7 or an 8?
Just consistency of being the quickest in their team,
Okay.
And unfortunately, because Formula One cars are so awful at the moment, it's now 90% car, 10% driver. Whereas in Jim Clark's day, it was 90% driver, 10% car.
Yeah.
So the brilliant driver, which is why it's harder to see him, he's only 0.3 a second lap quicker than a very, very good driver. Yeah. And now, if you're 0.4 slower than your teammate, God, you're completely rubbish.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, of course, in a certain circumstances, setting up your car, Sainz can be quicker than Leclerc.
Yeah.
As others have been quicker than Lewis in certain weekends, Bottas even, because the car is so important. So it's just you have to look, and you look at them where they came from. How much they dominated their single-seater years. I think that stands out when you're evaluating them coming up through the ranks. The qualifying is the ultimate test.
But I would agree with all of that. But I'll tell you what I think also, Dave, is if you think back to Michael Schumacher and Damon. Now Damon, by any standards, is epically good. But you know what? Michael was just better.
Yeah, Damon's not brilliant.
And the thing is, and I've had this conversation with Damon, and he agrees, and that Damon could be as fast as Michael, but it would take 100% of everything he's got, all his brain power, everything, and therefore he'd have nothing left to think about strategy, overtaking, racecraft. Michael could drive at the limit with 5% effort. Yeah. And so he's got loads of bandwidth. Yeah. Because it's more natural. Yeah. They both achieved great things. Damon won the World Championship. But Michael was he was one of those exceptionals. Yeah. Like
I sometimes explain it to people by saying if you split your skill up between natural talent, hard work, and hooliganism. Yeah. It's like Ronnie Peterson was like 50% natural, 50% hooligan. It didn't work at all. Whereas both Damon and his dad were probably only 70% natural, but 30% hard graft, checking out what the other driver's doing. So you can still get the same lap time, but with a different method. I mean, Prost against Senna, Prost, the professor, drove around looking like he was going shopping. He put a stopwatch. He's as quick as Ayrton Senna, So you can get the same result by hard graft, hooliganism. Keke Rosberg, he was a hooligan, a lot of natural talent, but not a lot of hard graft.
What about the element of sort of, for want of a better, and I don't really know what the right word is, but I'm thinking courage and fearlessness and,
I never put that in.
No, really? Is it because you need to contain and control that far more than just that sort of fearless ability?
Well, if you're fearful at all, you'll never get to be a Formula One driver because you just won't be quick enough in the lower ranks.
I don't think you'd ever be a racing driver full stop in anything. No. Do you know what, Dave? Those feelings, they're not even anywhere near you. They're not in the system. You're just concentrating on doing the best job you can, whether that's setting the car up or racing or whatever. Those feelings, those kind of emotions. I mean, I always thought emotion is the enemy actually in a racing car. And I think you bat them away.
I enjoy the more dangerous circuits as I grew up. Yeah. Because I felt I was more alive. I'm more on the edge.
And having to work harder.
You're concentrating even harder. You know, if I hit that bloody curb there, and there's a wall 3 feet away from it, that nasty curb that's all gnarly is going to spit me into that wall. Club corner at Silverstone, the Porsche 962, you know. There's a touch the brakes, then through there, there's adverse camber.
Yeah.
And we used to go quicker by slowly going quicker each lap, and you'd get to the danger element of the nasty, gnarly curb, and then you think, oh, I've had a moment, I'm not going to go any quicker.
Yeah.
The kids now, they go into Eau Rouge, first lap out, they go full throttle into Eau Rouge, because they know they can shoot off into the car park. Okay, that's a bit too quick.
Yeah.
So then they actually go the other way. They'll slowly go slower until they can stay within track limits, and then that's their edge. So we used to go from slow to quick. They go from quick to slow because they could just throw it into a corner.
It's a really good point.
I liked having the edge. I loved Le Mans. The Mulsanne kink every lap would wake you up. 230 miles an hour. I used to tell people, you just lean your head. That's all the lock you need is just lean your head. Just lean your head.
Excellent. Hey, you've mentioned him, Tiff. Would I be right in thinking your hero, your ultimate all-time hero, is Jim Clark?
Oh, yeah, always Jim Clark. Yeah, and that's why I grew up. Because, again, I would go to all races clinging to those fences as a kid with my mum and dad, you know, and he'd drive in the Ford Cortina and the Lotus 30 sports car, then he'd win the Formula One race. And we had so much racing in Britain. You go to Mallory Park and watch him do a Formula 2 race around Mallory Park. And he was just so natural. And he would always lead the first lap by like 6 seconds half the time if he had a good day. And he was so calm, and you know, you watch some of the videos of him. He's a sort of embarrassing farmer from Scotland.
Really, very quiet. And
he was on What's My Line? I think that old thing where you had to do a couple of hand signals, and the panel would guess what your line is. I'm a farmer from Scotland. Sorry about my accent there, and he was just so natural. He was just 100% full on natural. And just a lovely gentleman at the same time. I mean, they never bang wheels. You know, that's the thing in those old days. Nobody banged wheels with anyone. A few drivers were a bit leery, you know, they used to steer clear of. But you watch them today, you know, ever since that Senna bloke said, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a racing driver, idiot thing to say. Because if you go for a gap that's closing, you're going to end up with no wheels on your car. There's so many children, they're Formula Fords and Formula 3s. Oh, I've got to go for that gap.
Yeah, well, do you know what? It started before then, didn't it? Do you remember Villeneuve and Arnaud at Dijon?
Oh, yeah, that was good.
That was a proper ding-dong, wasn't it? I mean, he was my hero when I was growing up.
Yeah, you said that.
And interesting enough, if you speak with Jody Scheckter was teammates with Villeneuve in '79 when Ferrari, when Jody won the World Championship. He genuinely believes he was the fastest man that's ever lived.
Yeah.
But like you said, he was reckless, and there wasn't much left for anything else. And Jody was a bit more prosky. And what happened? Jody won, but Villeneuve captured my imagination.
So actually, Jody was reckless. He was a Villeneuve when he first came into Formula Ford, and that Grand Prix, of course, at Silverstone when he wiped out the field. I mean, he was the leery lunatic. But I think Jody quickly realised you don't win world championships by driving like that every weekend, you know, when the car's good. And so he pulled it back, that 1 or 2% from being I remember seeing at Brands Hatch when his Formula Ford debut at the Race and Champions supporter when I was a spectator. He parked his Merlin on top of the bank coming out of the hairpin, you know, because he was just finding. Villeneuve, when he did that British Grand Prix in the McLaren, I think he spun the car like 8. I think he spun it every corner, club corner, Stowe corner. He spun every corner by finding the limits, by being a hooligan. Oh, dear.
And back in those days, a spin at any corner was a big spin.
Well, yeah.
Because they're all fast corners, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's lots of people you can put in that very top echelon, you know, like we've mentioned Jim Clark and Jackie Stewart and Ayrton, and the list goes on, Fangio. But in terms of the greatest driver that you've ever raced against, who would that be?
Well, I raced against Villeneuve. They were in the Formula One. I was in the Race of Champions, so, you know, I didn't sort of wheel bang with him. He was so much quicker than me. So
the people which you've raced against, I mean, you've won some big races, Tiff.
The funny thing, I came up through a funny era of British drivers when there were only me and Jeff Lees that got anywhere. There are not many, you know. I look up at sort of Rich Atwoods and David Hobbs and Derek Bells.
Yeah.
They had a great generation, but they're some 10 years older than me. And there's some other whippersnappers who probably might be 10 years younger than me that, you know, I've got befriended. So I don't know, it's hard to say raced against. I mean, you know, Jackie Ickx, you know, in a Porsche at Le Mans. So, I mean, Derek Bell I raced with, so he was a great sports car driver. So I've really not got one. It's a bit of a. It's got so many that I admire.
That's fair enough.
But I've never sort of wheel banged with anyone. I've never had a season long. Jeff Lees was the one I banged wheels with throughout Formula Ford, Formula 3, Formula 2.
Yeah.
And yet he's, poor Jeff's hardly known at all, despite his talent and, several Grand Prix, but never quite got the break.
Well, this might be another toughie then, Tiff. Favourite race circuit and why?
Ooh. Well, in Formula Ford would be like something like Campbell Park, because that's a brilliant driver's track, but it's a bit too tight and narrow for Formula 3. Although I did get the fastest lap chasing some bloke called Nelson Piquet in Formula 3. Oh, Nelson Piquet. Now, there's someone I did bang wheels with that's pretty famous.
He was a bit of a fruitcake, was Nelson.
I like Nelson too. He had a drink or two after races as well. Yeah, Nelson Piquet. I put him on my top of my list of famous drivers I bang wheels with.
And was that Cadwell?
Yeah, Campbell, Formula 3, yeah. It was when he had an unbroken run of 7, and I would have broken it if I got by him, but I couldn't get by him around the tight confines of great time. But, I mean, Le Mans I love because it's just got history. I love going to a track with history where one of my heroes raced at, and, of course, it's got every type of corner and every variety, and it's a long lap. So Le Mans will be high there. The Macau street track is just... Probably the most... Probably Macau would be the most exciting track I've ever raced around. A lot of the tracks have been ruined, you see. That's the other problem. The tracks I raced on, Suzuka, we look at Suzuka, for example, they've changed that. But the chicane before the pits wasn't there in my day.
Oh, wow. So that was a big corner then.
Yeah. So 130R, which wasn't flat, which they've now made easier, and everyone's full throttle now, going through 130R. So you can't go quicker than the car in front. But we'd come out of 130R 2 miles an hour faster. Then over the kinky crest, the right-hander where there's a chicane.
Yeah.
So then by the time you're halfway down the pits without DRS, you could overtake because you've got that 2 miles an hour. So epic circuit. I mean, Silverstone, I still prefer the original probably to the one we got now. Certainly prefer the old Grand Prix lap with Bridge Corner.
Yes.
The Abbey chicane was very good. And then that little Abbey chicane, the left and the right was a good chicane.
Yeah. It was a fast chicane. It was quick.
Yeah.
And then into Bridge, which was an amazing corner, wasn't it?
And also Luffield they've ruined that. Luffield was two separate right-handers.
Yeah.
So you could outbrake into the first one maybe, but now it's become this U-turn. Copse Corner. So Copse Corner, Paddock Corner, was it Westfield or Hawthorne? The second one at Brands Hatch.
Westfield.
What they did was they were lovely late apex, fast corners where you drive in deep and then get on the power early to power out. But what they did to give the runoff area, they took the curve and they diagonal it. Now, the reason everyone goes wide at Copse is because you've now got a fast in to the apex. Yeah. So you shoot out to the apex, the exit curb.
Yeah.
Same Brands Hatch, Silverstone. That second corner that used to be Westfield or Hawthorne.
Westfield.
Brilliant corner. But now you shoot out to the curb. And therefore you then end up the dreaded track limits or going over the curb or whatever you do. And that track limits thing. And you watch touring cars at Silverstone, lap 1, and you just see cars 5 wide coming out.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It used to be one of the greatest corners, challenging with a bank next to you and a big gnarly curb. So where were we? Talking about good circuits. So a lot of the circuits that were good, I can't say Silverstone now or Brands Hatch now because they've spoilt them so much by chopping the bloody apexes off. Or Hockenheim was good. Hockenheim was a great track. The long straights, so you could get a bit of a toe, big chicanes. Thruxton, of course, it hasn't been changed.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Where does Thruxton rank? Yeah. So I know, well, obviously, because are you still working at Thruxton?
The best, I'm still doing my passenger rides. Come down, Tiff Needell, 10 years.
Do you know what? Funny enough, actually, you were there.
Dave, don't. It's absolutely hideous. Well, I've sat with this bloke for many, many years. I've punched him a couple of times. He's literally off his rocker.
I take 3-year-olds, 83-year-olds, sit beside me, booster seats, Zimmer frames, get in there.
You were doing passenger rides when I was there many moons ago doing my ARDS licence at Thruxton, and I remember you were in an E46 M3, a silver one, as I recall. And
I've lost count of the colours.
Following you for a little while, and I just thought, there's a nice day out.
I've done 8,000 rides.
You haven't?
Wow.
Yeah. But that is a great. If you say greatest racing circuit, that would probably be it. I mean, it's just epic. I mean, as long as you haven't got, the trouble is Formula 3 now would be flat out around the back. And that's the problem. Cars.
Again, my touring car around there because literally the corners.
I always missed the bloody tourist.
Oh, did you?
It's scary. Yeah. Never did touring cars. I did a Can-Am car in Thunder Sports, which was pretty epic.
Oh, my Lord. I bet that was a...
Steering was so heavy.
Every time you got out of the car, I bet the seat had a little volcano in it, didn't it?
But again, they're not changing the tracks. They're sort of changing the cars, but they should change more circuits. To as soon as Eau Rouge is flat for everyone, you make it tighter. Not by much. You've only got to move the middle curb probably 3 feet to the left.
Yeah.
That's all you've got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then nobody will be flat through it.
Well, do you remember, Dave, that there was... this is maybe 3 years ago. There was an onboard where Charles Leclerc went into 130R one-handed, whilst flat out,
adjusting his mirror,
mirror, one-handed, and it was perfect. It's like it's too easy. It's too easy now.
If 130R's flat, make it tighter.
Yeah. So I'm surprised, actually. You know, we talked a minute ago about, the people you raced against and your greatest driver. I'm surprised you didn't mention Nigel Mansell at Donington Park.
Did I race against him? I might have bumped into him once or twice.
I think you put him into an unconscious state at Starkey's Bridge.
Oh, I try to forget our Nige. But yes, I suppose our Nige would have been the most famous man I've bumped into twice. But Nige. He was about 90% bravery and 10%. They had a lot of natural talent as well. But what a brave driver! We talked about you couldn't be brave. Okay, brave probably the wrong word, but. He would just muscle a car. Muscle a car. And then another thing I'd talk about how to analyse a racing driver's skill is when I went to Monaco trying to qualify for the Monaco Grand Prix, which I would have done if it hadn't rained, obviously, when it rained, is that when I arrived at the next corner, I'm learning the track. My body gets there, but my brain's still 100 yards behind me, trying to analyse what happened in the previous corner. Yeah. And then by the time the next, bloody hell. But gradually, the more laps you do, my brain would catch up with my body. So it was almost sort of just a little bit behind me, so I'm still wrestling the car. Whereas Nige, he would be 100% on the car, brain, body, and just react to what happens. Right. Whereas to my mind, the Sennas and the Schumachers, their brain is 100 yards ahead of their body.
Yeah. That's
again a different way you analyse a driver's skill, Yeah. So, Nige was the one that would just react to whatever happened. Very muscular. I saw him having huge opposite locks, ground effect days, coming out of the Peralta at Mexico in 4th, 5th gear, 140 miles an hour with an opposite lock.
When he went around the outside of Berger going into there, didn't he? I mean, Jesus.
He did some fantastic moves. Yeah. So, it's, Nige, always be a legend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tiff, in terms of the telly then, and you've done it for many, many years through Top Gear and Fifth Gear and everything else pretty much motoring-wise on the box, is it the best job in the world, would you say, for someone like yourself?
Well, no, because I have to write a script and learn lines. So, no, a racing drive, it's the best job in the world. If you end up as a TV tart on a sideline...
the second best job in the world.
It's the second best job in the world. And it's 15 years Top Gear, 15 years Fifth Gear. Nigel love cars on the road, which I'm glad you've got in touch with me now. We're going on to Amazon Prime.
February the 16th.
Now? The second series
well done.
of Love Cars on the Road is live on Amazon Prime.
Oh, well done, mate. I'm chuffed about
that. And you can catch up with our first series on ITVX. Love Cars on the Road, ITVX. If you want to see what Love Cars on the Road is like before you get your Amazon Prime video subscription to watch Love Cars on the Road. But it's such a shame with Fifth Gear that me and Jason did have so much fun. As I put on my tweet, someone at Discovery decided I wasn't the right face at the right time and I was removed, which is such a shame because me and Jason, you look at the tweets that come out, the rapport that we have.
Yeah.
It's all about that chemistry. That's what people don't understand that works on telly. That's what Clarkson's so good at. Clarkson having to make chemistry.
Yeah.
And you can't artificially make that happen.
No,
we work with so many presenters that the people would stick someone in with you, but unless the chemistry works, it has to be natural. You can't force it.
No, and people try a lot, don't they? And they fail, unfortunately, especially in the modern world. And they're a bit like, I know, he'd be great with her, or she'd be great with him. Yeah. And as you say, but you need to have that rapport with people.
And honest to God, when we were doing our thing, we wouldn't be presenting we'd just be us. Just doing our thing.
Yeah.
And it just worked, didn't it? You scare me witless. You know what I mean?
But I guess there's also, the other beauty of it as well is working with somebody that you've done so much with and know so well that you know what they're going to say. You know how they're going to react.
Yeah, you know what's coming,
Absolutely. Tiff, you can tee JP up for something because you know what the story's going to be and vice versa. And that's
there's a lot of ham and cheese, but it's still natural ham and cheese. If you write a script for two strangers with exactly the same words as we used,
it won't work.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I remember, God, who was the lovely lady we had on Top Gear towards the end of Top Gear? Kay. She does natural history. Kate Humble.
Yeah.
And so they wrote her scripts. She admits it now in interviews I've seen afterwards. They'd write me a script. And this Lamborghini handles brilliantly. And she said, I was in there going, this Lamborghini handles brilliantly. Then, of course, the other thing is Top Gear started doing, which slightly annoyed me, was the BBC when someone gave birth to a polar bear and they got caught out because it was in a zoo and not actually in the wild. And the BBC had to not con people.
Yeah, but they did.
And yet, of course, all of Clarkson having made slides are the Stig and his mates.
Yeah.
So you get, Jeremy could get the slide going. He was all right, but you had to cut the shot as he spun out.
Well, that's the thing. If you watch the old stuff, you can, if you know, the shot cuts because you just know he's going off.
He's gone. But Richard Hammond were there saying this car handles, and then cut. There's maybe someone, Stig or one of the boys pluming smoke out the back. And so it annoyed me because that's the thing Jason and I do. We do the driving. So. It's not a con. Whereas when the old Top Gear would see those other two driving, they go, they can drive well, can't they? That annoyed me. Yeah. Always annoyed me. That.
I'll tell you what was on reflection. If you think how many laps we did round circuits over the 20 odd years, flat out together, really close. We only had a couple near misses, didn't we?
Only when you forgot what we were supposed to do. Your fault always if it went wrong.
Well, there was one at Castle Combe. Do you remember that?
And one at Rockingham, I remember even greater. When I nearly destroyed an Aston Martin because you. That was a lovely thing, actually. We were both power sliding in the wet. It was one of the best shots we ever did.
Yeah.
Were you in a Ferrari? I don't know what we were in. I was in Aston and Ferrari.
Great big Merc.
Anyway,
V8 Merc.
So we were in formation power sliding with the tracking. So we were catching the tracking car.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things about what we do when you make a shot is to catch the car you're tracking car at the right angle, the right part of the corner. So once we'd slid past the end of the tracking car, we could back off. The slide was over. I was following Jason. He went past the tracking car out of shot and then decided to slow down immediately. A bit early. So tracking car is now going past. I'm now arriving at Jason in my full power slide. Had to bottle out of it, hit the brake. Ooh, that was close, that one. Yeah. But many such stories. But
do you remember we got the call off Ron Dennis where he went absolutely ballistic because we'd had a pot. We didn't like the MP4, did we?
Yeah. Oh gosh, the MP4 12C.
Do you remember?
Which was a rubbish car, and I got banned from driving McLarens for that, and they really got into us. But we were just honest.
And
this is what it was. They changed it. Changed the suspension, changed everything because we were right. Yeah. And we told them. I mean, of course, all the influencers now, this is, and even on telly now, it's harder and harder to get cars off manufacturers. They get more and more touchy. So it is difficult to be brutally honest when you get a loan of a car. But, there's a shame about Top. I mean, Jason and I were racing drivers, Vitty racing driver, we did all the dangerous stuff because we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And, of course, you don't want to criticise Top Gear, but the Freddie thing, is because Freddie's been doing crazy stunts, not just on Top Gear, but also, what's the other when you went around the world with the football player? There's a sort of doing stunts and things program, isn't there? Show.
Well, they've just
something like that.
They've got no foresight into what could happen. And they've got no inner alarm where, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we might get pressured by a director to do a few things. We just go, do you know what? No, we're not.
It's the wrong time of day.
Now. It's the wrong time of the day. Do you know what? We're done. And we would have that authority because we knew we knew what could happen.
I'd never have got into Hammond's jet car.
No, me neither.
No way in a million years.
No, me neither.
End of story.
Yeah, it would have been no.
No.
Well,
No.
Yeah. So it's a real shame, isn't it? That's what's happened, and it's potentially, arguably, pulled the curtain down on a great sort of dynasty of a TV show.
I lost huge fame that was coming my way. I was back on Top Gear. They did a little item. They had a 70s, 80s, and 90s Top Gear presenter.
Yeah.
So there was me with Harris as the 90s. There was Chris Goffey, and there was Strictly Come Dancing lady who was original Top Gear.
Did Chris have his foot on the wheel?
Yeah, Angela Rippon. So we were paired, and there was 2 laps of the track in the wet, sliding around, having a laugh, and then you had to do a stupid quiz in the middle where you lost time. So obviously we lost. But the opening shot for me was me arriving, getting out, and there was all "Hail the Great Tiff." There was Harris,
really?
"Hail the Great,"
brilliant.
Freddie and that Northern bloke. I was just thinking corporates are going to be up now. We'll be back soon, and of course it'll never be seen because it was one of that series on the cutting room floor.
Mate, get us the tapes and we'll put it out for you.
Yeah, we'll put it out. Do you know what we can actually have? We could put it out instead of an episode, couldn't we, JP?
Yeah.
There you go.
Whether it might never have been edited even.
Well, who knows?
Right, here's a question which you might bare your teeth at. Electric cars, where do you stand on them?
Well, not for me at all. I understand. The trouble is that we have to keep remembering or remind ourselves that there's only about 5% of the motoring world that actually cares or enjoys driving.
Yeah.
So you've got to realise it's 95% of the public. They're just a tool to get from A to B. Mm-hmm. So as long as they suit your lifestyle, I've got nothing against them. If you've got a plug at home and a plug at work, and there's no driving enjoyment of the things. They just, as Clarkson says, you're like refrigerators on wheels. You just sit there. And obviously, if you start doing long haul, then it is a problem. You've got to recharge. Our lives when we've got to go to the middle of Wales filming for a day, and you arrive at midnight and it's pissing with rain. If you could find a charger, it's not working. We've had this with some electric cars, and so I'd never want to be have an electric car as my only tools. I'm a big hybrid fan, to be honest. If you've got a good hybrid that works, if they get hybrids doing like 60 miles on electric alone, so then you do the school run, you shopping, But then if you go anywhere at the weekend, and I think this acceleration factor that they've got, because that's all the electric people, it gets to 60 faster than a Ferrari. I don't give a toss. How often do you want to go to 60 in 2.8 seconds?
You can't. There's nowhere to do it.
But also, they're putting amateur drivers into 2.5, 3 tons of metal, which in 4 seconds they could be doing 100 miles an hour. But then if something goes wrong, the average, you're just going to hit things. Yeah. It's a lot of momentum and weight.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the whole environmental thing about half of the world have to dig up to make the things. I mean, there's lots of problems. I think if they get a new battery invented, they've talked about that for a long time, but nobody seems to have actually come up with a battery that will last longer or go further or is lighter. And all the cars you catch out, all these things, they're all 2 metres wide, aren't they now? You go into London, everything's 2 metres wide.
Well, you can't park the bloody things, can you? You go into car park, you can't get out the doors.
No.
I think they're great. If they can get them cheaper, I think the Chinese cars coming in will be a lot cheaper. Yeah. But I think it was Johnny Smith did a story about the Honda or something. It was snowy and it was down to about 90 miles of range.
Oh, really? Because of the temperature? Yeah.
Fully charged. That little Honda's only got a small battery, so they come out with little small batteries. But the worst thing about it, my son's got a 20-year-old Vauxhall Corsa. I'm not buying him anything else. That's fine. He went to the south of France with his mates and back in it. So it's worth £1,000 he bought it for. Yeah. And 20 years' time, what will you be able to buy for £1,000 equivalent of that's electric? No, because the old car, the battery will be down to about 10-mile range.
Yeah.
You're not going to put another £30,000 battery in a £1,000 chassis.
No.
So you won't have cheap cars. So all the low-income people, the kids, the students, there won't be an electric car in 20 years' time that they can afford to buy.
Interesting. Right. I know that the answer to this is not going to be an electric car, but my question to you, Tiff, is of all the cars you've ever owned, and there must be a few, you need to pick one and one only and stick with it for the rest of your life. Which one is it and why?
This will be fun.
This is I shall add them up now. The only cars I've ever owned are a Morris 1000 Traveller, an Anglia van, 2 transit vans, 1 Vauxhall Chevette, 1 1600 Ford Capri, and 1 BMW 323i that I sold in 1982. I have not owned a car since 1982.
Well, he gets a lot. He gets the freebies. He gets the
freebies.
Yeah. And he loves an estate car. Just so you know, loves it. Loves the BMW estate. Loves it.
And I've now moved on in my career of blagged cars to a Maserati Ghibli GT, which I'm adoring, which is slagged off by the motoring journalists. There's something that worries about motoring journalists. You find that one person will say the ride quality is bad, like they're on a launch, and all the sort of junior journos will say, well, Hero said there's bad ride quality, you know. So they all write the same thing.
Yeah. It's a little bit punchy on turn in. Mate, you don't know what that means.
No. So I had a Jaguar Sport Brake. That was not XF Sport Brake. And they're stopping production of those, I think. That was nice. I had that for 3 years. But I've got this Maserati, Hendy Maserati, Poole, Dorset, by the way, should you wish to purchase a Maserati, I suggest Hendy Maserati in Poole, Dorset. So I've had BMWs, a lot of BMWs, love them, the 5 Series, my sort of 5 Series touring, perfect car, state car, not these SUVs, I don't like SUVs at all. But I always thought Maserati probably similar to Audi, Mercedes, BMW. But I just got this Maserati, the leather and the clock, and I'm in a Maserati. And I've driven all these superb, hypercars and supercars on the roads. All of a sudden now I'm driving. I'm going slower.
And does it drive well?
Wheels. Yeah. Well, it's only the hybrid, the 4-cylinder hybrid thing with a 48-volt battery. It's got 330 horsepower. But apart from overtaking 6 cars because there's a tractor at the head of the queue, which you occasionally need to do, I don't miss it. It's fast enough. I think, it's very rare that you actually need that much power. So I'm cruising 30 miles to the gallon. I'm cruising around. My Maserati. Bless. I love the grill. I've been besotted by it.
So this is a question we ask everyone.
The answer is the BMW 323i.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Would have to be.
That was in 1982.
It's a great car to go out on.
And did you ever put some paving slabs in the boot just to settle it down a bit? Because that was the trick, wasn't it? Because they were a bit tail happy.
Well, that's why I enjoyed it. That's why I liked it a lot. It had the 2 pipes out the back. It was that year for people that are a BMW 3 Series anoraks, whatever E it was. It was the one with a pipe out each side.
Yeah.
323i. Oof.
Great
lovely
car.
bits of kit. Straight 6 in that. What was it? 6-cylinder straight 6. Yeah.
Oh, Beamer.
So anyway, noise, engines. Our question, which we ask everyone, me and Dave are convinced that music and cars go particularly well together. And I've sat in your car on a cold, wet filming day, and you've got some classic tunes in your stash. So the question is, it's your fantasy drive. Where are you going? What you're listening to? Where are you?
Oh,
and most importantly, what you're driving.
Oh,
fancy
why
drive.
did you warn me about? You could have warned me about these sort of stupid questions.
I think you find it's not stupid.
I'm obviously driving to the south of France, a long route way. Obviously heading for the sun, Grand Corniche. What was the first bit? What am I in?
Whatever you want to be in.
I don't know. I take road cars as road cars. I'm not that bothered about what I'm in at the time.
Really?
Yeah, as long as it's comfortable, doing the job. It obviously wouldn't be an SUV. It wouldn't be a hard GT. I mean, the GT3 Porsche, that ridiculous wing on the back. Talk about the state of road cars. Let's get stuck in to the most ridiculous wing ever stuck on the back of it. Wings on road cars should be only allowed if they blend in with the bodywork. These boy racer things bolted on the boot. Outlawed. Dangerous. If a pedestrian goes over your roof, they could get their necks cut off, couldn't they? So
a classic car, mate, maybe on this Corniche?
No, it'll break down. No classic cars. All these classic cars are so disappointing when you get in them, because the steering's heavy or the driving position's bad or they're clunky. So that'd be a modern car. It could be the Maserati, but that's, cruiser. Something
Hendy Maserati
I've enjoyed. All from Hendy Pool. I mean, the old Bentley in Conti's quite a good cruiser, or Bugatti Veyron, if you want to really, that's a nice cruiser. So, I mean, I've been taking McLaren around now if I drive a McLaren home for a screen test in about 45 minutes, and my back's aching, I want to park up. So it's got to be, I'm getting a bit creaky at my age. Let's go for a Bugatti for a moment then, shall we? Because that's really comfortable.
And what you're listening to?
Go fast.
And what's on the 8-track?
Well, it depends if I've got my rev limiter sitting beside me or not. There's a big difference. If the rev limiter's with me, I can't play Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. She'll be wanting, I don't know, a deli or something on.
The rev limiter.
So this big contrast. Also, the vehicle for the speed limiter. Obviously, there's no point in taking anything that quick if I've got the rev limiter with me. So there'll be two choices, for the car.
I mean, well, there's one choice, isn't there? Is maybe
leave the rev limiter
leave her at home.
Yeah. Turn the rev limiter off.
Here's your air ticket to Nice. I'll see you there.
Mine's a gin and tonic on the balcony, darling. Thank you.
But it always has to be noisy. Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin's. It's just Nirvana. It's got to be loud and noisy.
Good work.
What else are we on?
No, I think. Do you know what? I think that's.
Have you noticed, Dave? Have you noticed that Tiff does like a rule? Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Because there's a classic. Have you ever heard of the two-door law?
Oof.
No, what's the two-door law?
Over to you, Tiff.
Very important. When filming, all sound people, camera people must learn that if one door is opened by the sound man on one side, attaching my sound, he shall not open the other door. Because when he opens the other door, there is now an icy blast going through my car.
A through breeze.
A through breeze. And so the one-door law is important whenever filming with Tiff Needell.
Do you know what? You'd hear this, Dave. I'd be in another car and I'd just hear, two-door law!
Well, I think on that note, Mr. Plato, I think you need to take us out.
Do you know what? We could chat all day and tell stories, but sadly we can't. No. So that is it for this week's Fueling Around, powered by adrianflux. As the UK's largest specialist insurance broker, adrianflux will tailor a quote to your exact needs, help save money on your car, your bike, or even your home insurance. Dave, as always, thanks to you, but a huge thanks to our special guest, the one and only Mr. Tiff Needell.
My great pleasure. Cheers, boys.
Lovely stuff. Lovely to have you on at long last. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at Jason Plato or at David Vitty. And if you've liked what you've heard, feel free to give us a 5-star rating, press the follow button and share the podcast on all your socials.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And, we'll see you soon. Ta-da.